Hello friends, this is Santanam from Officers IAS Academy, and in this video we will talk a little bit about something called as Indus Valley Civilization, also commonly called as Harappan Civilization. Now this Indus Valley Civilization or Harappan Civilization is often talked about in a very glorified manner, and it is said to be one of the most urban civilizations of its times, and it is also supposed to be very well developed, and the people are supposed to be very well cultured, and there was a lot of accomplishments that's associated with this Harappan civilization. Now we know certain things about this civilization, but we don't know certain things about Harappa also. So it is a bit of a complicated subject, to put it in very simple terms. Now one question that I would like to address in this particular video is the question with regards to who ruled over Harappa. So in Mesopotamia, in Egypt, we know of the names of certain rulers. We know who the Egyptian pharaoh was, we know who the Mesopotamian priest kings were, so we know those details. But when it comes to Indus Valley civilization, we don't really know much about who the rulers were. And in this video, we will try to analyze who exactly would have ruled Harappan civilization, the Indus Valley civilization. So the question here is, usually who are the rulers? Usually it is the kings rule. But it is not necessarily the kings who ruled back then, because you will notice that in Mesopotamia, in so many cases, it was the priest who held the additional role of a king to control the territory. In Egypt, it was the king who held an additional role of God itself in Egypt. So we notice that there is a fusion between priesthood and kingship, meaning divinity and monarchy. So this is seen in Mesopotamia and Egypt. Now remember, the reason why I am talking about Mesopotamia and Egypt is because Harappan civilization was a contemporary of both these two civilizations. When Egypt was there, when Mesopotamia was there, Harappa was also there. So that's why we are comparing it with those two. So in these two places, as I just told, there is a fusion between monarchy and divinity, godliness. But here in Harappa, that is not really the case, because the Indus Valley civilization, if you look at all the cultural aspects of this civilization, the cultural aspects talk to us about certain attributes. You look at all of these Indus sites, we don't find any temple-like structure. We don't find any public place of worship. That is not there. So there is no public place of worship, but there is just one exception, which is called as Great Bath. The Great Bath, which is located at Mohenjo-daro, which we will talk about later in a separate video. But right now, understand that apart from that one exception, there is no public place of worship. When there is no public place of worship, it means that they probably did not find religion to be very important. Only when religion is important, you will find a lot of temples that people come and gather to worship a god. But those temples are not present, no public place of worship is present. So in Harappan civilization, the priesthood, the divinity concept, that is diminished. It is not all that strong. Then what about the king concept? We don't find any palaces also. So there is no palace here. So no palace is there, which means there is obviously no king present. Maybe there was some local leader or somebody, we don't really know about that. Maybe there was, but there is certainly no king, because we don't find palatial structures anywhere. So there is no king and there is no priest, or at least these people were not all that important. So in which case, who ruled over Harappa? That's the question we get again and again. Now what was important for the Harappans, we'll try to understand. See, Harappans focused a lot on trade. They focused a lot on trade, and therefore we think that different cities in Harappa traded with each other and even outside of Harappan civilization. Now the question is, for all these cities to have traded outside of their civilization and even amongst themselves, we do get the idea that maybe there was something in common which is binding them together. See, all of Harappan's civilization, all of Indus Valley civilization, there are about 1500 sites, 1500 cities or towns that has been excavated so far. In all those 1500 states, 1500 cities, everywhere they used the same weights and measures, standard system of weights and measures. Everywhere they used the same ratio of brick measurement. The bricks they used, it is of the same dimension. Everywhere they used burnt bricks. Everywhere they followed the same grid pattern of society. Everywhere they focused a lot on sanitation, in drainage system. In all those places they made bronze artifacts. In all those places they had this system called as granaries to store food grains. In all those places they made terracotta figures. In all those places they made bead necklaces, bead made ornaments, semi-precious ornaments. In all those places they had the same writing system also, Harappan script, the Indus script. So in 1500 sites they are having the very same culture. So there is something called as cultural homogeneity. So there is a cultural homogeneity in all these places, which means all these places were certainly communicating with each other and they were under one rule. There was probably some central authority. Some central authority is certainly there. But we just don't know who it is. We have ruled out the king. We have ruled out the priest. Who else could it be? Well, for Harappans, the most important part was trade. The most important part of their life was trade. It was through trade that they were able to become so prosperous. So, trade was the fundamental basis which led to the rise of Harappan civilization. And of course, technological development, surplus agricultural production, all of it is there. But primarily, the urbanization factor is because of trade. So, when trade is so important for these people, we then assume, we then go to the next conclusion, which is the people who ruled Harappa, they were probably traders who ruled them. It is probably the merchant class who ruled over all of Harappan civilization, all of Indus Valley civilization. So, do we know this for sure? The answer is no, we cannot know this for sure. But is it a good, educated, wise guess? The answer is yes. Historians think so. Historians think that because of the absence of religious structures and absence of palatial structures, it is probably the traders who were responsible for controlling, administering and ruling over Harappa. So with that, we have tried to answer the question, who ruled Harappa? See you again in the next video. Thank you.